It started as a whisper on social media, a faint echo of a story that refused to die down. But last night, that whisper became a storm that shook the entire entertainment world. Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan have finally broken their silence for the second time, speaking out once again for Yu Menglong, a man whose story has haunted millions, whose name still carries the weight of unanswered questions. Before we begin, take a deep breath, because what you are about to hear is not just a story of friendship or loyalty. It is a revelation that will shake your emotions and make you question everything you thought you knew. Stay with us till the very end, and if you believe justice should never be silenced, hit subscribe and stand with us in demanding the truth. The camera lights flashed endlessly as the crowd gathered outside the media house. Wang Yibo arrived first, dressed in plain black, his face calm but his eyes telling a story of sleepless nights. Xiao Zhan followed shortly after, quieter, composed, but carrying an aura of heavy determination. The two men, once the brightest stars of their generation, now stood together not for a performance, not for fame, but for something far deeper, the truth about Yu Menglong. When the microphones were placed in front of them, there was silence. For a moment, even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. Wang Yibo finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "We kept quiet for too long," he said. "But silence never brings justice. It only strengthens those who hide behind lies." The reporters looked at one another, unsure of what was about to unfold. Then Xiao Zhan took over, his tone more emotional, his words trembling slightly as if carrying the weight of everything that had gone unsaid for months. "Yu Menglong was more than a colleague," he said. "He was a friend, a brother. What happened to him was not an accident, and we will not stop until the truth comes to light." The room erupted. Reporters started shouting questions, flashes burst through the hall, and within seconds, the news was everywhere. Hashtags exploded online. Hashtag Justice for Menglong and hashtag Yibo Xiao Truth climbed to the top of every trending list across Asia. Fans flooded the internet with tears and anger, reposting old videos, interviews, and unseen clips that now carried a completely different meaning. In one of those resurfaced clips, Yu Menglong had been laughing with Wang Yibo during a break on set. He looked full of life, full of dreams. No one could have imagined that months later, he would become the center of one of the most heartbreaking stories the industry had ever seen. As the press conference continued, Xiao Zhan's voice began to crack. "We were told to stay quiet," he said. "We were told it was better for everyone if we moved on. But how do you move on when someone you care about is gone, and you still don't know why?" Wang Yibo turned to him, placing a hand on his shoulder, as if to hold him together. It was a moment that needed no words, a moment that told the world their pain was real, their loyalty unshaken. Later that night, both men released joint statements online. Wang Yibo's post read, "You can erase names from the headlines, but not from hearts. Justice will come." Xiao Zhan's message followed, "We are not afraid anymore." The messages spread like wildfire. People who had never known Yu Menglong before were now learning his story, sharing his videos, writing his name again and again in the comments, like a collective voice refusing to let him be forgotten. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, sources revealed that new evidence had surfaced, private recordings, unseen footage, and witness statements that were being reviewed quietly but urgently. It seemed that Yibo and Xiao's decision to speak out again was not just emotional, but strategic. They knew something had shifted. The truth was finally within reach. The next morning, the two were seen visiting a quiet place by the river. They stayed there for hours, away from cameras, just the two of them. Witnesses said they laid flowers and spoke in hushed tones, as though sharing their hearts with someone unseen. One passerby said they heard Xiao Zhan whisper, "We're doing this for you." It was no longer about career, fame, or image. This was about peace, peace for Yu Menglong, and peace for those who still carried his memory like a scar that never healed. As the world watched, the Justice for Menglong movement reignited with more strength than ever before. Fans organized virtual vigils, thousands of candles lit on live streams, each flame representing one person who refused to forget. Old friends of Yu Menglong began to speak out too, sharing moments that painted a portrait of a man loved, respected, and gone too soon. Every corner of the internet was filled with emotion. People shared comments like, "We won't stop until the truth is revealed," and "Justice delayed is not justice denied." And through all of it, Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan remained steady. They didn't post new pictures, they didn't promote new work. Instead, they focused entirely on what mattered. Weeks later, a major update broke out. Leaked documents surfaced, confirming that an internal investigation had been reopened, all because of the massive public outcry reignited by Yibo and Xiao's voices. For the first time in months, there was hope. The truth was now closer than ever. And yet, the most emotional moment came when Xiao Zhan appeared once again before fans, his voice trembling as he said, "We cannot bring him back. But we can make sure no one forgets him. That is our promise." The crowd erupted in applause, some crying, some holding banners that read, "Justice for Menglong lives on." As the music played softly in the background, Wang Yibo took the microphone and said, "If you're watching this, and you've ever lost someone unfairly, speak up. Never let silence win. Yu Menglong deserved better, and we won't rest until he gets it." And that was the moment the movement transformed from a fan-driven effort into a global cry for truth. The world was no longer asking if justice would come. It was demanding when. So as you listen to this story right now, remember, it's not over yet. The truth always finds a way to surface, no matter how deep it's buried. If you believe in justice, in loyalty, and in standing up for what's right even when the world tells you to stay quiet, then this is your time. Hit that subscribe button, share this story, and let your voice be heard. Because as long as we keep speaking, Yu Menglong's truth will never die. Justice must be served. The world had gone quiet again after the first wave of outrage. The hashtags were fading, the comments slowing down, and the media had turned its attention to other stories. But not for Wang Yibo and Xiao Zhan. For them, the silence was unbearable. It had been weeks since they last spoke publicly about Yu Menglong. But something inside both of them refused to rest. Too many questions were left unanswered. Too many truths buried beneath layers of power, fear, and manipulation. One late night, Yibo sat in his apartment in Beijing, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. His phone was open to a folder of old messages, voice notes, late-night chats, behind-the-scenes clips of laughter. Every memory of Yu Menglong was still there, alive in pixels and sound. He played one of the messages again. Menglong's voice echoed softly, "We'll rise together, no matter what happens." Yibo clenched his jaw. That promise had never been fulfilled. And now, it was time to speak again. Across the city, Xiao Zhan was in a studio, rehearsing lines for his new project, but his heart wasn't in it. The director noticed, asked if he needed a break. Xiao Zhan simply nodded and walked out. The cool night breeze hit his face as he stepped outside, and for a moment, he remembered Menglong's laugh echoing through the old rehearsal rooms. He took out his phone and texted Yibo, "It's time." Minutes later, Yibo replied, "Let's finish what we started." The next morning, both of them appeared together in a live interview, something fans hadn't seen in months. The host was nervous. The entire production crew felt the tension in the air. Cameras rolled. Lights dimmed. And Yibo spoke first. "People forget too quickly," he said softly. "But we haven't. We saw things, we felt things, and we can't pretend they didn't happen." Xiao Zhan continued, "This isn't about fame. It's about a person who meant something to us. Someone who didn't deserve the silence that followed him." The internet exploded. Within minutes, clips of their emotional interview were everywhere. Hashtags like #JusticeForMenglong, #YiboXiaoZhanTruth, and #WeRememberYuMenglong began trending worldwide. But this time, their message wasn't just emotional, it was evidence-backed. Yibo revealed parts of Menglong's final diary, notes he had written but never shared. Words filled with pain, confusion, and betrayal. Words that hinted that his end wasn't just fate, it was orchestrated. Fans were stunned. Millions of comments poured in. People were demanding investigations, retrials, explanations. The story had resurfaced, stronger and louder than ever. Later that evening, Yibo and Xiao Zhan released a joint video, raw, unedited, filmed from a quiet room. Xiao Zhan's voice trembled as he spoke. He trusted people he shouldn't have. We all make that mistake. But the least we can do now is make sure his story is told right. Yibo looked into the camera, his eyes red, his tone steady. This is not the end. This is the beginning of truth. The video broke records. It became one of the most watched fictional drama pieces on the platform that year. People everywhere, from Beijing to Seoul, from Manila to New York, were talking about Yu Menglong again. His name, once forgotten, now carried a weight that couldn't be silenced. Behind the scenes, the characters who once hid behind lies began to crumble. A hidden document surfaced. A voice recording leaked. And for the first time, people started connecting the dots. 1 month later, in a quiet memorial attended only by close friends and loyal fans, Yibo placed a single white flower at Menglong's old rehearsal chair. Xiao Zhan stood beside him, eyes glistening under the soft lights. He wanted peace, Xiao Zhan whispered. Maybe now he finally has it. Yibo nodded. But we won't stop until the world knows what really happened. The screen fades to black as their voices echo one last time. Yibo says, to those who tried to silence him, the truth has a way of finding light. Xiao Zhan adds, and to Menglong, wherever you are, we kept our promise. Then the closing narration fades in, soft and powerful. Some stories don't end when someone leaves. Some stories only begin when justice is spoken. And as the world continues to whisper his name, one thing is certain, justice may be delayed, but it will never be denied. If you believe Yu Menglong deserves peace, type Justice Lives On in the comments, share this story, and subscribe for more truth-driven stories that will move your heart and stir your soul.